I am very fond and grateful for all of the equipment that I have access to work on in this studio. But there are some things that are very special to me. And I would say at the peak of that are my analog pieces by D.W. Fearn, which were designed by the great Doug Fearn. And also now the Hazelrigg Industries units, which the Hazelrigg brothers have designed in tandem with Doug and are now building and carrying that legacy of brilliant design forward. There's the reason that I have the VT5 right beside my right hand is that I just love this equalizer. Even sometimes when I'm not doing any, actual equalization in terms of engaging that part of the circuit, the transformers and tubes alone are bringing things to life harmonically in a way that you just have to hear. There's a strength to it. And when it's appropriate for the music that I'm working on, which it often is, I just love it. You can really shape things with anything ever sounding bad and really find a space that pulls the music forward and gives it a certain euphonic quality and strength that I really appreciate. I also have two VT4s, which are the mono versions of this EQ. I usually dedicate those to things like kick, bass, vocals, but honestly, whatever they touch is usually happy that it got to go through it. On the compression side, I have a stepped VT7. The VT7 is a very, very special compressor. Now, from a mastering standpoint, I had this stepped. It doesn't come as a stepped unit. I actually worked with Doug Hazelrigg to figure out what the appropriate steps would be within the tolerances, and then worked with a great friend of mine in Toronto named Warren Beck to install and have the full unit stepped. And that's just for a recall standpoint, because I want to be able to get back to exactly where I was if there's ever a recall. Let's say someone needs to send a new mix for the same mastering path. Then I have my photos and I can get right back to where I was. So that VT7 unit is right here. There's a certain transparency, but also, you can compress a decent amount without it feeling like it's happening at all. But again, the thing that I love about the Fearn equipment is just it's the way that it excites the harmonic content just by the nature of the electronic design, the choice of tubes and transformers is just beautiful. I also have another VT7, which is not stepped, that I typically pair with the VT4s, and it's used for vocals, bass, kick drums, and again, whatever gets to go through that path in a mixed context is always happy. Then there's one other unit that's come in recently, which functions as an EQ, which is the VLC by Hazelrigg Industries. Now, this is, maintaining the sort of Fearn VT2 kind of front end of the on a preamp side. It also has a DI that is sort of drawing upon the VT3 and the VDI. And then it has an EQ that is very similar to the VT4 and drawing on similar principles, but not stepped with less frequency control. But the frequencies that the Hazelrigg brothers have chosen for the low cut and boost and high cut and boost they're just sort of perfect. You choose one and you go. I think it truly is the VLC, the greatest design in the last decade for a tracking device. As a preamp with a built-in DI and equalizer on board, I can't think of wanting to work with anything else. In addition to that, I have a VT2 by D.W. Fearn, which is a 2-channel preamp. There are many preamps in the world that are coveted. We have our famous ones that we can all consider and that are sort of in the pantheon of recording preamps, and I think the VT2 is right there for anyone who's ever tried it. I also had Warren Beck step that one so that I can do critical stereo work and keep things perfectly balanced. And then lastly for me in the Fearn world and the Hazelrigg world is the 4DI, which is basically 4 of their VDI units, and the VDI is a portable version of what used to be the VT3, which was this big red DI unit that looked very similar to the VT5. Tubes, transformers, and the harmonic content in this thing as a bassist myself, but also for Rhodes or synthesizers or guitar going direct. It's just otherworldly. I love it. So they've made the 4DI, which is 4 of their discrete channel DIs, and it is a dream. So Fearn, to Doug, I'm truly honored to have had a chance to even be on Doug's podcast in the past and talk with him, learn from him. He's a legendary designer, a legendary engineer in his own right, and just a brilliant and kind person. And to the whole Hazelrigg family, as well as everyone at OMS Canada here in Toronto, I'm really grateful to have these pieces in the studio.